Hello everyone, it's Mike Levin, Friday, August 5th at around 3:15, and I thought I'd capture this fairly magical moment going on here where you can see the new look of Pipulate here in Jupyter Notebook. So a job is actually running, and you can see how it batches things up, and you can see that 13, 12, 11, it's a countdown from 100, and I'll flip over here to the spreadsheet and you'll see what happens as this gets down to 0, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. There you go. It's updating 100 at a time as far as filling in title tags. But what's also going on here is if you see this number going up here, I'm actually archiving all the content of these pages as I do the very humble grabbing of a title tag for a URL. I am also archiving the entire response object per the requests package. Kenneth Wright's mega popular URL fetching package. I'm getting the entire response object and archiving it in a shelf here in the SEO Notebook code. So if you wanted to, you could sort of follow what's going on here, but basically the entire SEO Notebook and Pipulate implementations are in this one short body of code here. It's the simplest I've ever made it. And you can see that the rows to batch here is a new variable I've added since the last time. Whether to cache is or not, so cache equal to true is responsible now for that number going up, so that when I run these queries again, instead of fetching the original web page again, it'll actually just grab it out of the locally stored database. This is some of the new power that's here now that it's on Jupyter Notebook, and I'm not so paranoid about stateless webhead mode of working. It's okay to cache stuff locally now with Pipulate because it's going to be running it off your machine. SEO Notebook can now be thought of as a particular implementation of Pipulate, with the Pipulate functions being used through it. And I guess the chunking logic, the thing that's responsible, it's about to go through another thing here. So you can see it's Pipulating range 14 of 95. And it sort of stepped in. This was originally 200 chunks, and I implemented the work today so that it could always continue a job right in the middle where you left it off. So let me let it finish doing an update. We'll see the next set of titles just sort of pop in, and then I'm actually going to let it go through a few of the next one, 199, and you can see the sort of speed that these go at here as the actual HTTP request is being triggered off. You know, it's about just under 1 per second. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go ahead and interrupt it now. In fact, I'll do a complete restart and run all. It's kind of the way I like to do it. Restart and run all, and you can see it got down to 75 in the countdown. So first it needs to examine the spreadsheet because it finds the first place where there's an unfilled in Pipulate function, a Pipulate named column with an empty cell inside of it. And then it figures out how to chunk the results into Excel style cell ranges. And then you can see how fast it goes through to what it was up to before, 74, because that was all cached now in this dictionary. And if I was showing this, that number would not have been going up at all as it spun through those few already cached response objects. But now that it's past that, it's going slow again. So there's never any harm in allowing a Pipulate job that's actually quite large to stop, and you can now set your number of your rows to batch to any number you want to sort of commit them to your Google spreadsheet, 50 at a time, 100 at a time, 1,000 at a time, whatever suits your project best. You can also play around and just optimize it. And in this way, it sort of commits it to a spreadsheet that's immediately shareable as you go and accessible from anywhere you are. And it's a nice alternative to CSV files, but it's a lot slower than CSV files. So to make it as robust and usable as possible, I've added all this chunking technology since the last time. And I'll probably go through this in more of a talking head style video later. But because it was working so frigging effectively for me against these jobs that are, 20,000 rows long, 3 columns wide, that I would normally never have attempted before in older versions of Pipulate, it's now just no big deal. And you can see the bottleneck is clearly just now the HTTP calls in the background, which if you ever screw up, no big deal, because every one hit is now locally cached. And you can always extract further things from that page. I'm grabbing the title tag, but say I wanted to grab canonical tags. It's all in there. I just write a new canonical function under Pipulate and execute it as if I were calling the HTML code, or calling fetching the HTML from the URL, and it'll pull from the database instead and run about 1,000 times faster. So it's a great way for going back after the fact and retroactively pulling stuff off the page you might have missed the first time. Something that's quite difficult to pull off when you're using things like Screaming Frog or Deep Crawl for these same purposes. Although Screaming Frog is a great way to create your original seed list that you can then flip over to SEO Notebook to do further SEO processing on. Anyway, I wanted to show you that. It's a little different than my typical coding videos, but I'm moving ahead so fast here that I can't turn every little thing that I do into its own standalone talking video. This has evolved quite a bit since I demonstrated implementing the cache, mostly based on the chunking and the ability to pick up in the middle from where you left off in old jobs. Those are the two big improvements. Thanks for joining me. Hope to see you again soon, and don't forget to subscribe.